Okay, this is now tarot lesson number 77, and it's going to be uploaded to YouTube on the 22nd of January. And a few people have asked about an astrology course, and I've got it all ready. I've got 28 hours of audio video, and you've got a dozen books, and it's a one-time payment. It's going to be $249. The thing is, I was going to do it the normal way, which is you set up a website and you've got a mailing list and people subscribe, and then you send them emails, and then there's a call to action and blah blah blah. But I'm getting nowhere with that kind of approach, and it's going to be 2024 and I still will have nothing to up there. So I'm saying this today because if next Friday is when lesson number 78 will go up, and then I'll give you details about what you can do. The website may or may not be ready. If you're interested, send me an email directly and I'll put you on the list and I'll give you updated information. Because what the idea is that you buy all the videos and the audio at the same time, and you work through the course on your own, at your own speed, and then you go through it again and we work together. I've got various thoughts about what we can do. We can have live streams and we can discuss and so on. But I wanted to try and put you off, because astrology is easy, but there's a lot of it. There's a huge amount. And it's very easy to think you're making progress when you're not. And it can be lonely, because you can find out you get nobody to talk to. You find out something interesting about the zodiac and you want to share it with your family and friends, and either they turn against you or they have no idea what you're talking about. And so it can be lonely, a lonely route to travel. And even if you talk to people who are apparently studying astrology, it's just people just agree with each other. Nobody, well, not nobody, but people generally don't want to debate anyway. So that I'm telling you this to make myself commit to something for next Friday, to have something up and available next Friday. But I'll tell you about that, the details, at the beginning of lesson 78. So today, I wanted to play around a bit. So first, I've got my visual aids here. This, as you can see, I hope it's in focus, is a trowel, right? And you use a trowel in a garden, you use it to dig soil or to move sand or something from one spot to another, right? And that's a trowel, and it works. This, on the other hand, is a spoon. And you use a spoon in a kitchen. You can use it to measure sugar or salt or liquid of some sort to move it from point A to point B. So you could use a trowel in a kitchen at a pinch if you had to move, let's say, flour from one bin to another, and you had nothing else. You don't want to use your hands because, this is better than nothing. But at the same time, you also don't want to use a spoon in a garden. You could scoop up tiny amounts of soil. So the reason I'm telling you all this is because when it comes to the tarot, today is kind of playtime. So when it comes to the tarot, we have 4 suits: cups, coins, batons, and swords. And recently, people have been wanting to relate to astrology to the tarot, and they talk about cups as being the suit or the element of water, right? So you've got fire, air, earth, and water are the 4 elements. I'll get to that in a minute. But the thing is, my objection to this kind of thing is, if you're going to be looking at coins, cups, swords, and batons, why do you translate them into 4 elements? That's a bit like you've got a spoon in the kitchen, and you're in the kitchen, and you want to measure a certain amount of sugar. Why do you take a trowel that belongs in the garden and try to use a trowel, which is the wrong thing, to measure sugar, let's say, or salt? And this, I think, is what happens with fire, air, earth, and water, because you've got fire. Okay, I've got a cup. What have we got? A baton, a sword, and last but not least, a coin. Coin cards, right? We've got 4 elements. Everybody can look at a cup and see, they can look at the picture and think, okay, we've got cups here, things are neatly arranged, but somebody's wanting a change, or they're interested in something different, or what they set up is no longer satisfying, or no longer satisfying enough. And so they're motivated to leave behind what's comfortable and what's pleasant and maybe what's inside the box and do something else outside the box. And so if you look at the tarot, why don't we just stick with the tarot? Because everybody can look at that 8 of Cups and get an idea of what's going on. Whereas if you fire, air, earth and water are the 4 elements, E-A-R-T-H. Oh no, I'm sorry. Fire, air, A-I-R, earth and water. People talk about fire, air, earth and water and fire signs and air signs and so on, but there's an awful lot that they don't know about the elements, because you learn a little bit, it seems to make sense, and you stay with that. I recently listened to a bit of the Astrology podcast, and they were talking about Capricorn, and one of the presenters was talking about how Capricorn has high standards, and they started talking, and everybody agrees, you know, the other people on the podcast were talking about, yes, this makes sense. Then, so I'm listening to this and thinking, Joseph Stalin was a Capricorn. He was a mass murderer. Did he have high standards? What do you mean, Capricorn of high standards? David Bowie was a Capricorn. And I read ages ago about how the session musicians, or the musicians who played with him on tour, you know, the bass, the drums and so on, they got paid union rates. You would think if you're making millions of dollars a year from record sales, you'd be really generous with the people, with your backing musicians. He paid them the going rate. So what are his high standards? So people talk, the problem with astrology is words, right? Because people talk about, yes, Capricorn's got high standards, but nobody stops to think, okay, what does that actually and exactly mean? So, in connection with last week, I think it was last week, we're going to play a little bit here, because I think this is time to play. And so you do this, or you try this, but you're not doing it because you're desperate to know the ultimate truth about the tarot. You're doing it just because you've got 5 minutes here or 10 minutes there. And maybe you'll understand something, or maybe you'll learn something, or maybe you'll get an idea that you wouldn't have got if you hadn't tried this. And that's the value of what I'm going to show you in a minute. We're going to use numbers again, but it's not so much so that you can become an expert in numerology. It's more so that you can, I don't know, expand your horizons a little bit, or get an idea that you wouldn't have had before if you hadn't played with the numbers. So fire, F-I-R-E, is 8, 1, 2, 5. 8 1 is 9, 2 is 11, 5 is 16. So fire relates to 16, which happens to be the Tower card. We have a number 16 picture. So fire in its own way relates to the Tower. And that can give you a different way of understanding the element of fire. I don't know how valuable it's going to be, because I'm saying, you know, people look at batons and say batons represents fire. So maybe it does, but so you could take 5 minutes or a certain amount of time and think about what's the connection between with the suit of batons representing fire, supposedly, and the Tower card. So maybe the suit of batons has got the potential to be damaging. I mean, fires can be damaging as well, but a fire can be useful because you use it to cook food. right? But you can also, if it's out of control, then and maybe the tower is reminding us that the suit of batons, if we're saying the suit of batons is fire, then it can be dangerous. So you've got to, when the suit of batons comes up, maybe especially when it's reversed, you have to be extra careful. And so maybe the idea of being extra careful comes from relating the word fire and number 16 to the 16th major trump. Then we've got air, and air is 112. 112 equals 4. Air, the emperor. So maybe the suit of, or the element of air is powerful, actually. And so people debate about whether air relates to coins or swords. And they tend to say it relates to swords, but it doesn't. It relates to coins. So I'm going to say, this is because how do you make money, real money, like millions of dollars? You make it through ideas. You make it through communication, through thinking. You don't make it through hard work. I mean, it can be hard to do the thinking and so on, but do you know what I mean? It's not physically digging ditches. That's hard work. You make real money, you make lots of money through ideas, and ideas relate to the suit of pentacles. Okay, so, but maybe this is, so with coins here we've got a 6, do I? Yeah. So coins in some way relate to the emperor. So, and as it happens, we've got the 6 here. Maybe what you do is you keep, when the suit of pentacles comes up, in the back of your mind you've got, okay, the emperor in some way is involved. So maybe the suit of pentacles, in the back of the thought should be, are we being honourable and just, and doing the right thing, and understanding that what we do affects lots of other people. So are we aware of the effect our actions will have on them? Or are we ignoring them and just riding roughshod over other people? And so you get maybe a more complex or more complete idea of the suit of pentacles if you relate it to the Emperor card. And then we've got Earth, EARTH, which is 51245 equals 5, 6, 8, 12, 17. Here we go. I knew all this in advance because the star card. Okay, so Earth relates to the star. And I immediately have no idea what to say about that. So I'm saying that Earth relates to swords. So swords, maybe it's a reminder for us all. When swords comes up, we ought to be hopeful that when things go wrong, instead of being despondent and thinking, oh no, things have gone wrong again, you think, okay, things went wrong. If it happens again, I'm not going to handle it the same way. So maybe with the suit of swords, we're meant to understand that when things go bad, rather than just suffer, do something better with it, or do something about it. Take action. And instead, it's like Glenn in The Walking Dead, as I think I mentioned once before, about how somebody said to Glenn, why do you always imagine the worst? And Glenn said, I imagine the worst not because I expect it, but so I can prepare for it. And maybe this is what the suit of swords is about as well. When it comes up, you're meant to look at your life or your situation or the condition and understand that you're meant to prepare for something, for a better future. Because the star is a card of hope and inspiration. And last but not least, we have water, which is 61452 equals 6, 7, 11, 6, 16, 18. There you go. I wonder what's on top. Yes, it's the moon card. So with water, there happens to be water in the moon card anyway, which may or may not be coincidental. But with water, it's tricky. It's a suit that you can think that there's temptation goes with water. There's the Eight of Cups, going back to that first one. So with cups, you have to be careful, because there's, as always, there's what seems to be going on, and that's what's really going on, because there's a subtext. So people do what they do, thinking that they know why they're doing what they're doing, but there can be something else going on. And maybe that's what's important about the cup card, or the suit of cups, and relating cups to water, which kind of makes sense if you have to do that. At this point, I don't quite know what more to say about cups, but maybe cups are maybe not as obvious as we think they are. Or maybe what's important with the suit of cups is it's going to be important for the reader to look under the surface and to get an idea of what's also going on, so that you give the questioner a more complete answer and not just take the easy way out and tell them something easy. Okay, so that I sort of want to resort these, but I don't want to do it right now. So I'll do it later, only because I don't want to take up time. So that is lesson number 77. So I'll be back on Friday with 78. So thanks for watching and have a good day. Okay, bye-bye.